Today we are going to talk about the visual representation techniques in landscape architecture. This is super important for any designer to understand how to represent their design in different modes that are visual, that require detail, and that are very clear, not just for the designers and professionals that are working together, but also the client as well. There are several visual representation techniques that every landscape architecture student or designer should know, and they include 8 most prevalent techniques, which are plans, sections, planting plans, material plans, digital models, physical models, hand-drawn perspectives, and also digital perspectives. Now, it's up to you as a designer to choose which mode of representation that you want to use, but just know that utilizing these techniques are super important to convey a concept throughout an ever-changing project. Now, let's take a deeper dive into each technique. The first technique that one might use at the beginning of a project is a landscape plan. Landscape plans are 2D representations of the components within a design. Plans like this are meant to show existing and proposed vegetation, hardscape, softscape, grade changes, and even decorative features. The second technique is landscape sections. Sections are basically cross-sectional views of the space that you want to design. The purpose of a section is meant to show views of a design space and sometimes can include section elevations, which are just the heightened representation of elements within a design, or even section perspectives, which are a section of the design in a perspective view. Planting plans are also another technique that landscape designers use. This is a super important technique because it's important for designers to keep track of the type of plants that are already existing on the site and also keep track of the plants that they want to propose for the site. So it's super important to choose plants that are going to be successful in the sunset zone of the site that you are designing, but it's also important to understand what that plant might look like in its youth stage, but also in its mature stage. So when you're looking at a site, you want to know that whatever you're installing on that site is going to fit within that site, and it's also going to work well with existing vegetation. Material plans are also important to visualize the design on a site because they show typically the hardscape of a site. So when a planting plan is made, it shows the softscape, but a material plan might include where to source materials, such as glass, wood, or other components that might make up a patio, path, a fire pit that you might want to put in your design. And so having a material plan is a 2D representation of where those elements are. And sometimes they will also have a schedule on the quantity of materials that you might need to make up the hardscape along your site. I also want to address making digital models. Digital models are a snapshot of the design. Digital models are a good tool to use if you want to show a visualization of the final stages of a design. And it's super important to use a digital model the correct way because sometimes it's just a vision and then sometimes it's an actual representation of what might occur when a design is finalized. The pros to using a digital model often includes the ability to catch a viewer's eye, but challenges also might arise when someone wants to be able to show more analog elements of a design, such as texture. So it's super important that when you use a digital model as a student, you don't rely on the digital model as the only technique to show your design, but as an accessory to all of the different components that you might include in a package or a snapshot of your design intent. Physical models are a hands-on way to show the scaled or illustrative representation of a landscape design. So I would say having a model scaled is the best way to show a design intent, but sometimes we have to focus on the overall design instead of the smaller details. So making a physical model that is more illustrative, that maybe has a scaled pathways or sidewalks is appropriate, but you can also make the trees or other elements within your design that might be secondary illustrative. So the whole purpose of the physical model technique is to show the design in the quickest way possible. And it's also important that models are not always final representations of the process, but can be used to show different stages of actually building a design as changes happen. Hand-drawn perspectives are also another technique that is requiring you to use your spatial reasoning and the importance of using your actual hands. I think hand-drawn perspectives are one of my favorite techniques to use because they are a great way to flush out the vision of a design, and they speak to a more traditional audience. Having a hand-drawn perspective might show you that you want to focus on a different way of circulation along your site, or it might convey conceptually the attitude of the design that you want to propose. So having hand-drawn perspectives is still important in a world of digital technology because they provide a quick way to visualize a concept, and they also speak to the fact that designs take time and they have multiple iterations to go through before they are finalized. Like everything that can be done by hand, it can also be done digitally. So digital perspectives are the same concept, but they're just used in different ways. You can utilize the Adobe Creative Suite to create digital perspectives that are to scale, that have a horizon line or viewpoint, or you can be more illustrative with your perspectives and make collage perspectives that focus on adding different elements and vantage points to your actual image. The pros of having a digital perspective is making sure the intent of the design is consistent and it can be done in a quick and easy way. But you can also make these digital perspectives from the digital models that we mentioned previously in the video. And that seems kind of strange, but if you take a digital model and cut a section through it, you can also make a digital perspective from a digital model. And these are great ways to save time as a student when you're creating a design and allow yourself to be more consistent and with the direction of your project. Now that we've gone through all these techniques, it's really important to note as a student which technique fits your project best, and don't be afraid to change direction if needed. Until next time, bye.